Welcome to the Life Science Rundown. This is Nick Capman with the FDA Group. Before we jump into our discussion for today, just a little bit about the FDA Group. We help life science companies in the areas of quality assurance, regulatory affairs, clinical operations, commissioning, qualification, and validation, as well as manufacturing and engineering. We offer 3 engagement models, which are project-based, staff augmentation, and full-time employee recruitment. So if you ever find yourself in need, just head over to thefdagroup.com, check us out, and get in touch. So I wanted to talk today about an article that came out from Morgan Lewis, and it's titled, How a Biden Administration Will Affect FDA's Regulation of Medical Devices. And what this article talks about is essentially, should medical device companies be worried about the FDA under the new Biden administration? And how will this affect companies that received approval through the Emergency Use Authorization Act? So let's get into it and see what they had to write. So again, this was by Morgan Lewis, and it says medical device companies should be prepared for an increase in FDA enforcement activity with the incoming Biden administration. As President-elect Joseph Biden gears up to take office on January 20th, the upcoming change in administration will impact the FDA's oversight and regulation of medical devices and digital health. The most immediate and significant changes impacting FDA's medical device oversight are likely to include a repeal of certain Trump administration orders on regulatory reform and changes in leadership at both FDA and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. It says device companies should be prepared for an uptick in FDA enforcement activity, including those that received emergency use authorizations for products intended to aid COVID-19 relief efforts. So certainly if you're a medical device company, you should be expecting that the FDA is going to be on the road. And if you received EUA approval of your medical device, you should also be aware that they're planning on conducting inspections. So one of the other parts of this article talks about the repeal of Trump administration's orders on regulatory reform. So let's see what they say about this. It says, over the course of the last 4 years, the Trump administration had issued numerous executive orders intended to reduce federal regulation, many of which impacted FDA. It required all executive departments and agencies, including FDA, to identify at least 2 existing regulations to be repealed whenever the department or agency proposed a new regulation via notice and comment rulemaking. More recently, the HHS issued a proposed rule on November 4th of 2020 that would require the department, including FDA, to perform an assessment and review of the relevant federal regulations every 10 years and would automatically sunset such regulations if the required assessment and or review were not completed timely. This article says, we anticipate that the incoming Biden administration would repeal or significantly revise these orders. So something to keep in mind. It talks also about new FDA leadership. It says, as with any new administration change, the incoming Biden administration is expected to nominate a new FDA commissioner. President-elect Biden has yet to announce a pick for FDA commissioner, and it's not yet clear how quickly he intends to announce a pick to replace the current FDA commissioner. And it goes on to throw out a bunch of different names, some of their background, speculation as to why they would be considered. It seems like it's very much up in the air, so I'm going to skip over that part, but certainly something to keep in mind. Further down in the article, it says increased focus on enforcement. After a 90% decrease in warning letters between 2015 and 2019, coupled with a pause or significant reduction of FDA's inspection program due to COVID-19, we anticipate an increase in FDA enforcement activity under the Biden administration. In the near term, we expect FDA to focus its efforts on evaluating companies for compliance with their EUA conditions of authorization, such as medical device reports, or MDRs. It goes on, in the long term, with seasoned device companies opting to participate in the voluntary third-party medical device single audit program, or MedSAP, we expect FDA's inspection cadre, which is not reduced in size, to inspect promptly new firms that recently received pre-market clearance, and potentially firms marketing 510K exempt devices. Similarly to what we saw under the Obama administration, we expect an increase in for-cause inspections triggered by allegations of wrongdoing by consumers and consumer groups to the FDA. And it continues, finally, in 2021, FDA is expected to release the long-awaited publication of the revised Quality Systems Regulation, QSR, that is intended to align with ISO 13485-2016. There will likely be a number of questions concerning implementation of the revised QSR that will be subject to evaluation in FDA inspections. So interesting, very, very interesting. Then further down in the article, they're talking about laboratory-developed tests, or LDTs. It says here, FDA's policies regarding laboratory-developed tests, or LDTs, may further evolve under the Biden administration. Historically, FDA has opted not to actively regulate most LDTs under a policy of enforcement discretion. However, FDA has reserved the right to regulate certain LDTs should FDA determine such oversight is necessary to protect the public health. Under a Biden administration, we anticipate that HHS's attempts to limit FDA's policies and oversight of LDTs will subside. It remains to be seen, however, whether the new administration would support legislative changes to more clearly bring LDTs within FDA's purview. Later on, it talks about digital health, software as a medical device, and how FDA could be looking at companies that are in that space. But overall, I can certainly speak for myself that I've seen a significant reduction. The 90% was fascinating to me. I thought it was more 50%. I check FDA's dashboard at least a few times a week, looking at the kind of the decline in inspections, but obviously it's been pretty dramatic, and that's going to uptick. So my big takeaway is if you're not comfortable with your quality system, you may want to get things going now. It would not be a good thing to wait and have FDA issue you a warning letter. So, take heed. And this is, I would say, the proverbial writing on the wall. But that's my takeaway. It was a pretty good article by Morgan Lewis, so I'm very, very appreciative that they shared it. So I'll wrap it up. As always, if you find conversations like this valuable, please share it with a colleague or your professional network. If you haven't already, subscribe to get updates of new episodes at thefdagroup.com/podcast. Follow the FDA Group on LinkedIn. If you'd like to connect about project or resource needs, head over to the FDA Group, thefdagroup.com, to get in touch. And feel free to connect with me personally on LinkedIn. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.